Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining our weekly Live at 5 events happening every Wednesday evening at 5 p.m. Today, we're going to be diving into our awards and financial aid at Carleton University. And I can tell this is a hot topic because we have a ton of attendees joining us tonight. So welcome everyone from wherever you're viewing on your computers. Welcome to the parents who are watching and wanting to learn a little bit more about our scholarships and bursaries at Carleton, and all of the students watching as well. Thank you so much for joining. Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus being on the traditional and unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation in Ottawa, Ontario. So as we jump into this presentation, obviously, like I said before, this is a hot topic for students for a lot of reasons, right? And one big reason is that money is a stressor. And when you're thinking about putting yourself through university for your next 4 or 5 years, it can be kind of stressful. It can be overwhelming to think like, where is this money going to come from? And so, it's really important for us at Carleton. We don't want that to be a barrier for prospective students or students at Carleton itself. We don't want you to make that decision that you can't come to university because, the money's not there. So we really are here to support you in that journey of coming to Carleton and being able to, afford your tuition with some of the great resources we have, including scholarships and bursaries, which is what we're going to be really touching on and honing in on today. And at the end of the presentation, we actually have an awesome expert on hand right now as well, and she's going to be jumping on to answer a lot of your question and answers, or your questions, I guess, that you can ask actually on the right-hand side in that chat button over there. So you can ask any questions you have about awards and financial aid. We have an awesome team on the back, and we'll be able to get to your question today as well. So before we really jump into the presentation and specifically dive in about Carleton's financial support, I want to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my story. So my name is Céline Chartrand. I'm a recruitment officer at Carleton University, and I'm also a proud alumni from the Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, graduating just last year, June 2019. Okay, so not too long before that, I was a grade 12 student, and I grew up in a small town in Muskoka, Ontario. And, I went through my grade 12 year, the beginning of it for first semester, and that was really when I was trying to figure out what university I wanted to go to. And the scholarships and bursaries thing wasn't as much on my mind. I was more looking at academics, the community I was going to be involved with, what kind of opportunities there were on campus when I was a student in regard to like the physical sort of stuff. And so, after going to tour some universities and going to some information sessions, I was able to sort of, make a decision of my top 3 schools that I was interested in applying to. And Carleton was my top school right off the bat, just based on, some of the great things that they had to offer. But it really was when I got into my second semester of grade 12 that I started thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to put myself through university, and I have to do that in a financial way as well. And so I started getting my acceptance letters from the universities that I applied to, and with those acceptance letters came the scholarships that I received from the universities. And that was really what solidified that decision for me for coming to Carleton, was because Carleton was actually the university that gave me the most financial support. And so, if another university had given me more financial support, that would have sort of changed my decision a little bit as well, because, that money aspect was really important to me, and it was sort of more of a barrier for me coming to university. So that scholarship piece was amazing. And the other thing I really want to note about being a grade 12 student was that I was really able to focus on the external scholarships and financial award opportunities within my community. And I encourage you folks as well to look at these opportunities. And what I mean by external scholarships is, for example, in my town, I was from a small township called Ramera. And in Ramera, they actually gave a scholarship to students who resided in that township who were going to university in the next year. And so I got like $500 for filling out a form and applying to that. I also was a cashier at No Frills when I was in high school. And so I was able to apply for a scholarship through my job. So maybe you can do that with your parents' job or your own part-time job that you have right now as a grade 12 student. So I really encourage you folks to look at these scholarships and opportunities in your area and apply to every single thing you can. Some scholarships go unnamed because people don't apply to them. So make sure that you're really checking out what you have around you. But in regard to Carleton, obviously there's this big number in the corner of your screen, $24 million, okay? And I'll say that number again, $24 million was awarded to students last year in scholarships and bursaries at Carleton University. Okay, so this is, again, a really good example of how we're really trying to support our students, and we just want to increase this number. Next year, we want to go out and talk to more prospective students and say we gave even more than $24 million. And in doing so, we need your help. And the first way for you to help us get that number higher is by gaining an entrance scholarship. So this is our first way, to get some great money from us, okay? So for students coming into university with over an 80% average, you're gonna get free money, which is amazing. So from $4,000 up to $16,000 over your 4 years, you can kind of see this awesome chart that lays it out really well for you. So as an example, maybe you have an 86% coming from high school, you'll actually get $8,000 over your 4 years, or $2,000 per year. Okay, so that's kind of how that table works. But a really great way to explain these entrance scholarships is by our 3 R's. So the first is regainable, the second is renewable, and the third is reviewable. And so regainable basically means that, I'll start with renewable. And what that means is when you come to university, you do need to maintain an A- average in order to keep your scholarship. Okay, so an A- is around an 80% average. So again, we're going to go back to that 86% example where you're getting that $2,000 award per year. So in order to keep that when you're in university, you just need to maintain an 80%. Okay, so you'll still get that scholarship we offered you in your grade 12 year. Okay. It is regainable, that's the next R. And what I mean by regainable is that if you do drop below that 80% average when you get to university, but you pull your grades back up and get over an 80% the next year, we'll give the scholarship back to you. So it's always important that you can regain it as you go through your university degree. And finally, reviewable. The reviewable means that if you get your grades up and you do really well academically with your average, so maybe you go from that 86 to a 90, we'll actually up your scholarship for you. Okay, so you can never decrease your scholarship, you can only ever increase it. So that's always very important to note as well. Okay, so moving on from entrance scholarships, we also have our prestige scholarships. So our prestige scholarships are another really great opportunity to gain some money. And these are for students who have over a 90% average and have been really involved in their community. So these are application based, where our entrance scholarships require no application. They're just automatically added to your student account. And so when you're applying to the prestige scholarships, you do have to fill out an application where you can really brag about yourself. So talk about, being on student council, volunteering, being on a sports team, really all of those opportunities that you've had in your grade 12 year or during high school that have made you sort of a leader. And so, yeah, doing the application is great. That application is due March 1st, 2021, so not until next year, but definitely keep your eye out for this scholarship. And you can get $20,000 to full tuition for this one. And again, similar to those entrance scholarships, they are renewable at an A- standing over your 4 years. And we also have bursaries at Carleton. Okay, so bursaries are a little bit different from scholarships in that scholarships are based on academic merit. So they're based on averages, whereas bursaries are based on financial need. Okay, so we have a couple of different bursaries here. The first one is our Carleton entrance bursary. And this is based on financial need, where you'll fill out an application where you'll put in your income over the summer, maybe your parents' income. You'll just give a little bit of information, and Carleton will try and spit some money back out at you for that. And again, application based, you'll see the date there, June 30th, 2021. But we also have our leadership entrance bursaries. So similar in that you'd still fill out that form about your financial need, but then you also have that other aspect of leadership abilities. So again, filling out that application where you're going to brag about yourself and talk about how you've been a leader in your community. And again, that application is due by April 2nd, 2021. Okay. So for any of these that you want more information on, we do have our website at the bottom right there, carleton.ca/awards, that you can check out. But right now, we are actually going to be jumping on with one of our experts at Carleton University. Her name is Sam, and she is actually an alumni from Carleton and also works in our Awards and Financial Aid office. So she's going to jump on right now. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, everyone. As Celine mentioned, I'm Sam. I work at the Awards and Financial Aid office as an Awards and Financial Aid assistant. I've been with the awards office for, this will be my 3rd year now. So prior to that, I did graduate from Carleton in 2018 in June from a BA in psychology, minoring in neuroscience and mental health. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us today. Super pumped to be to have you here and being able to, like I said, answer some of these questions as an expert on board. So the first question, I'm just going to jump right into it. I want you to describe the work study program for the students watching, because I know it's an amazing opportunity for Carleton students throughout, I believe, their whole undergrad. So if you want to give a little bit of more detail about that program that we have.
Sure, yeah. So the work study program is a program that the awards office does in collaboration with a lot of departments across campus, mainly the career services office. But what we do is there's an application that students can do at the end of August, right before they start school in September. And we evaluate those on first come, first serve, but they are more of a needs-based award where you get to then potentially obtain a job within your field, working with professors, working with various departments across campus to gain that that experience that a lot of jobs look for in conjunction with your degree after you're done school, and then also allows you to get some extra help with paying off like the tuition fees and that sort of thing. So it's a really good way to get that experience in while you're studying. So.
Yeah, that's an amazing opportunity. So it's really the best of both worlds, combining that experience piece with even making money on campus. And I actually remember one of my friends doing this program, and they were in a really good situation where, because they were working for the university, they were able to get time off for studying for midterms and exams. So it was really great to have that on-campus job experience. So really cool opportunity for students. Okay, another question I have here. Are there ways to get scholarships during your university career? So once you're, a current student at Carleton, as you're going through.
Yeah, so as when you first enter into Carleton, you will be assessed for those entrance scholarships mentioned earlier. Those ones are renewable based on the terms of the scholarship, so maintaining that A- generally average. However, if you maybe entered school without one of those entrance scholarships, or you maybe are looking for some additional funding later on in your studies, there are 2 different types of things you can go for. So if you entered Carleton without an entrance scholarship, you could be assessed for an in-course scholarship based on your performance at school at Carleton. So that's a good way. So if you're maybe not at that 80%, but you're still looking for scholarships later on, you can be assessed for those as well. And if you are an exceptional student within your program, you could also be potentially awarded departmental awards. And those are ones that are key for your department itself, and generally are based on nomination by the department. So it's really beneficial for students when they're coming to Carleton to reach out to their department and kind of make those connections with their department, even starting in your first year, because they're kind of key to get some of those extra scholarships as well.
That's awesome. And those scholarships too that are departmental based, are they available for students to receive in first year too if they're chosen, or?
Generally they're for future years.
Okay,
so after your first year at Carleton, but it's kind of starts in your first year in that you're going to be making those connections with your professors and the department itself.
Yeah, no, good to know that you can continually get financial support through your university career too. And then you mentioned a little bit at the beginning about the entrance scholarship. So for students wondering, how are these determined? What grades are we using? And sort of what does that timeline look like for students?
Yeah, so the entrance scholarships are determined at a number of points within your admission process. When you first apply, you'll have an admissions average assessed based on your top 6 courses. And then as we move through the admissions process, because a lot of students do get admitted rather early based in those early admissions, your admissions average may change a little bit as you continue through first semester and second semester of your high school. So we do reassessments based on your first term final grades and second term midterm grades. So if at any point your average goes up, then you can be potentially awarded additional scholarships, or an increase in your scholarship rather. And likewise, you mentioned earlier, if for whatever reason you had a bad exam and your admission average does drop, you'll still maintain that highest level of your admission or your entrance scholarship. So
perfect. Amazing. That's perfect. And then just turning tables. So we've talked a lot about the awards sort of side of things, but the financial aid, like what are students able, like what is the difference between that and what are students able to receive from like government, for example, coming from Ontario?
Yeah, so coming from Ontario, your main government source is going to be OSAP, the Ontario Student Aid Program. The nice thing with OSAP is that your key point person when you're applying and you have questions or anything like that is going to be the financial aid office at Carleton. So we have financial aid officers here that are very, very knowledgeable in the whole OSAP process and who would actually go through and administer the program and make sure your application's all good to go. So if you have any questions about your application, you'll be connecting with us. The OSAP sort of timeline, usually the application opens up at the end of April. So you'll have an idea of sort of what universities you're going to be going to, or have an idea of that, hopefully Carleton. And from there you'll submit your application. We recommend having that application in by June 30th. That just gives us enough time to calculate your funding and kind of move through the process so it's all ready for September.
Amazing. And then just talking about timelines, what is the timeline of some of the awards? I know we talked a little bit about the deadlines, but when are they going to open and where can students find those scholarships as well?
Yeah, so it's they kind of open up in a staggered kind of way. The first application that students will have access to on our website, so the awards office website, is the Prestige Scholarship applications, and those are open up in sort of mid-November. With a deadline being March 1st. So that's kind of the earliest one. And that's because a lot of students who are applying for that scholarship, they have that 90% average already. And they're looking to get that in fairly quickly. The second application group that becomes available is the Leadership Entrance Bursary applications. And those are in January, usually within the first week of January. Those are also posted on the awards office website. Now, a good thing about the Leadership Bursary applications is that there's a separate application for each bursary. So that's important to look at when you're going through our website, because each award has different criteria. So make sure you read those and assess whether you're eligible for those bursaries as well. The deadline for those Leadership Bursary applications is April 2nd. So there's a little bit more time for you to complete that one than the Prestige Scholarships. And then the entrance bursary. So I know we're getting into entrance. It's getting a little bit confusing, but just keep this in mind that the entrance bursary, not the leadership bursary, that one is available on Carleton Central as soon as you have an offer of admission. So you can start that if you have an early acceptance. You can start that nice and early in January and have it complete, and the deadline for that one isn't till June 30th. So that gives you quite a lot of time to do the application and allows us to also assess for students who may have gotten a little bit later of an acceptance as well.
Okay, amazing. That's great information. So we're really looking like basically November, starting up to apply for those Prestige scholarships, and then January for more of the bursary sort of stuff for when students can start applying. Okay, amazing. And I have a couple questions here that have come up in our chat. I have one is this great question. Is there a maximum parental income that would exclude a student to apply for an entrance bursary or to receive an entrance bursary?
No, so one of the main things we look at when we're looking at bursaries is we look at a number of things, a number of factors. Because it is a financial needs-based award, there is the expectation that the student might be searching for additional funding outside of the bursary. So just keep that in mind. While there isn't a cap on parental income, we look at it in conjunction with your any government aid that you're receiving as well. So, and if you're not receiving government aid, then what other funding are you using for your university career? So there isn't a cap, but just keep in mind we do look at the full financial picture, and the application helps us to look at that. So.
Awesome. Well, that's really great information. Great. That pretty much ends it there for me with our questions. That was a really great session. I want to ask the last thing, what is the best way to contact you folks and to contact you if any students do have questions moving forward?
Yeah, so the best way to contact us right now is actually just through our main Carleton email address. So it's awards@carleton.ca. That will go into our general inbox, and there's a lot of people monitoring that one. So we'll be sure to be able to answer your questions. And if it's something specific, like bursary related, scholarship related, you can always ask it for me. That's probably the best way. My last name's a little long, so it wouldn't be great to spell it out here. But we can include it in the chat if we need to. But I'd likely be answering your questions about scholarships and bursaries as well.
Amazing. And your name is actually up on the screen right now, so everyone can take a look and write that down. So that's amazing. Thank you for that resource. And the last thing before I let you go here, do you have any advice for prospective students that are looking into universities in Carleton right now?
Yeah, so I have two. The first one is start early. I know it's probably an overused little piece of advice, but start early, especially with those applications. It's really common for students to wait till last minute to get things in, whether it be for their own fault or not, but just start early, and that allows you to ask questions. That's my second one. Whenever you're kind of unsure about something, just fire off an email. We answer those questions really quickly, and it'll give you a little bit of a peace of mind as well. So start early and ask questions.
Amazing. That's awesome, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think that was super helpful for students. And again, if any students do have any questions for Sam and for awards, they can email awards@carleton.ca. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing, folks. So again, this kind of brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, we had a lot of attendees tuning in from all over today, which was great to see you there. You know, before I let you go, I do have to give a little shout out to our friend Rocky. He's been coming out to so many of our presentations, and I'm sure he has a Carleton 360 account. And if you do not know what I'm talking about and you don't have a 360 account, I highly encourage you to go to 360.carleton.ca, which you can see on the screen here. You can actually sign up and get some really great customized information to your program of interest, events that we have going on, even just information about Carleton services like awards and financial aid. So make sure you go on there and sign up, and we'll send you some great swag if we pull your name for that week. And with that, we have some more important news today that came out. We actually have our fall open house dates ready to go, October 24th and November 7th. Make sure you're checking out those dates to come and join us for our Carleton University open houses. So thank you so much, folks. Have an amazing evening, and we will be sticking on the chat to answer any more of your questions for the next, 10-15 minutes. So have a great night. Thank you.